welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about running your business as a social media manager. I've gotten a lot of questions about this, contracts, invoices, how to be organized as a social media manager, and just how to run your business. Especially as a beginner, it can be really daunting because you're like, I don't know where to start. I don't even know how this all works. What do I do? I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. And it does depend on the state you're in. Maybe do some research. I would recommend maybe talking to a lawyer or something. I'm just going to show you what I do, and it may or may not be the thing for you. But it has worked for me. Honestly, the biggest advice I have is just make sure you're working with good clients. Go through the necessary vetting process of making sure that this client is going to be a good fit. Obviously, you're never going to be perfect at the vetting process, but the only times I've had problems are when I didn't vet correctly, and when I knew deep down that, maybe this wasn't the right client. Maybe this wasn't the right project to do. There were lots of warning signs. And so I have talked about red flags before, but if there's any kind of problem or red flag, definitely don't ignore that, because that's going to be the biggest brunt of it. Just to give you the big ones, okay? First of all, they need to be a healthy business. All right. If they're hiring you because their business is going under and you are their last resort and they're like, social media is the only chance we have to build this business, that's a red flag. Okay. Because you can't save a dying business. You can't save an unhealthy business. You're only a piece of the puzzle. You're not even the marketing, like social media is just a piece of marketing. Marketing is a piece of business. And so if they're kind of like, oh my gosh, you're going to save us, you're going to help us go viral, you're going to get us all these followers, red flag. That's not the type of business you want to be working for. Yes, it's good to go viral. Yes, they're hiring you to grow their pages and their accounts and make great content that's actually going to convert into sales. But that's not really completely in your power if their business is not running correctly. How do you convert people into sales if the business can't even convert them into sales in the first place because it's running poorly? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that's a pretty obvious one, but just make sure that this business is growing on its own. It's doing well. Social media just needs to be that boost, that extra step that they know they need to take because they're just leaving money on the table. Social media is there to get that extra boost, to get that money that they're leaving on the table, so then that way they can grow. But it's not the thing that's going to save their business. They need to be doing other things and other marketing activities besides social media. And the reason why they're hiring a social media manager in the first place is because they don't have time or energy to do it themselves, okay? The second thing I would look for is just kind of how you jive. People want to work with people they like. Okay, and the same goes for you. You need to like these people. If you don't feel like your personalities are matching, it's a no-go, Also, pay attention to timeliness, things like that. How do they respond to expectations? And obviously, third, if they're not willing to pay upfront, or they're kind of pricing is kind of weird, where it's really cheap, and you're I'm not willing to do this work for that price. I don't know. There are so many things, okay? So I guess the green flags to look for, you like them, okay? They seem nice, they seem chill, but ambitious. They understand the role of social media. I feel like if a business hasn't had a social media manager yet, that's probably a good sign because they're growing and they haven't cycled through people, if you know what I mean. If there is a business that has had a social media manager before, maybe dig a little bit deeper as to why they're not working with them anymore. Because it could just be that person, went on maternity leave, or, they got too big, their prices got higher, something like that. Just be wary of that. You want to have a good idea of how are they growing, how are they doing. You don't have to get all their financial reports, but you'll get an idea of how good a business is doing by kind of just visiting the business and stuff. But same thing goes for remote too. Remote is great as well. Yeah, so I would say that's the most important thing. If you have a good client, you're really not going to have any kind of issue or any kind of trouble. Okay, let's get into contracts. All right. So when I first started, I wasn't really sure what to use. How do I make a contract? I felt like there was like hardly any information online. But yeah, I love Hello Bonsai. It makes it really easy. They have templates built in for you, and then all you have to do is just go in and customize it. So it makes it really easy because everything's there. I don't really have to think about it. Again, would it be smart to maybe talk to a lawyer who knows your state law? Probably. But for the time being and just starting out, this is what I did. And they usually do ask for, your country or your state. So let's talk about specific things to include in your contract. Number one, your project scope. Okay, so what's included, what's not? Are you just doing content? Are you filming the content, or are you just posting the content? Are you just doing strategy, or are you editing too? Just be really specific on like what you're doing. How many times a week? How many posts per month? So they're not like sneaking in some stuff. The payment schedule. I do it monthly, but some clients really like paying everything up front, so they can do that too, but that needs to be in the contract. The next thing, honestly, I haven't had much trouble with this, but I know some people do revisions and boundaries. I just do like 1 or 2 revisions, but my clients are awesome. Like, I seriously have been blessed. I usually just do, it's like 1 revision basically. But if they're like not being happy with multiple, you got to put a boundary on that. And so mine is usually 1 to 2 revisions, and then it's like, and then obviously with boundaries, what are your off days? What are your off hours? Be very clear with that. They're actually going to respect you a lot for that. Here are the expectations. I have my off days. I'm not going to respond to your emails past 5 p.m. I'll respond to them at 7 a.m. tomorrow. That's really important. And then the termination clause is also important. Will this contract auto renew, or does it end? I've done it where it will end. So like, okay, here's a 6-month contract. It'll end unless we renew it, and then we can renew it. But otherwise, if you don't want to keep going, it's just done. And then once the last day hits, like, I'm not doing any, unless there's like some content that needs to be posted, sure. Okay. But I'm not going to like work on anything else, So that's one way to do it. Another way is to, hey, this is automatically going to renew for another 6 months unless said otherwise. I really like that because it keeps things moving, especially if things are going well. And you can cancel within, the 30 days before the contract ends. Just let me know within the 30 days, and then we can wrap things up if we don't want to keep working together. So there's multiple ways you could do that. And then I always do like a grace period too. So if we've signed on, I'll give them 14 days. If they sign the contract, they pay the invoice, we're starting work. Those first 14 days, if things are not working well, they can just cancel. 100% refund guarantee, basically. If you also want to mention, like, if let's say someone signs a 6-month contract and they cancel month 2, okay, there's going to be a percentage that they're going to have to pay because they paid for a 6-month contract because there's 4 months left in it. Does that make sense? So you want to calculate whatever you want that number to be, just because if they can cancel, you want them to know that, but they're just going to have to pay for the last 4 months plus whatever. Or just whatever percentage you want to do. And then the last thing is ownership of the content. I just say this content's yours. Once it's up on your feed or the content calendar, that's yours. Yeah, you own it, basically. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just be crystal clear before you even start working. And then because that's also going to kind of go through the vetting process. If they're feeling uneasy about anything, or they're being kind of snarky or wanting to change things that you're not really like 100% on, like, yeah, it's probably not a good fit, but usually they're going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because we all sign contracts, That's really all I have to say about it, honestly, and hopefully that's helpful. But I honestly just use their template. I use ChatGPT to kind of ask some questions for my state specifically, which is in Arkansas. The other nice thing about using Hello Bonsai is you have all your invoices in the same place, which I love, because when I send my clients their contracts, I can just automatically attach the invoice with it. So that way, once they sign it, they just pay it right off. And that way the contract is signed and then invoice is paid all in one spot. And it's just really nice to have it all in one place. You can also make them automatic. It sends on that day every month, or maybe, a couple days before. It makes it really nice for just tracking things, especially when it comes to tax season, obviously. So it's nice to know, like, okay, everything's here. There are obviously instances where I'm not getting paid through Bonsai. It's like through other means. The nice thing about Hello Bonsai is I can just put it in anyways and record, okay, here's how much I'm making, here's how much I'm spending, here's some inventory, equipment, materials that I needed to do my job, and I can calculate that. Now, the next thing I'm going to get into is setting up an LLC. Again, I just used a third party. I think it's statefilings.com. All these links will be linked down below if you're interested, just kind of go straight to the source. So I would definitely set up an LLC. It's different from your personal taxes, and it's just going to make it a little bit easier, especially if you're buying a lot of equipment. Again, Hello Bonsai is really nice because it's going to track that for you, but it's just nice to have. It's going to cost a little bit to file for an LLC. I would get an accountant or some kind of service to do it for you because I had no idea how it all worked. And so obviously that's going to cost a little bit more, but I think it's worth it. And then you just pay taxes, and then there's like a fee to have your business. I'm honestly very limited in my knowledge of all of that, but I hope that makes sense. And let me know if you have any questions. And you know what? Honestly, ChatGPT does a fantastic job. I use ChatGPT for so much. Whatever kind of business thing and paperwork, whatever, I use ChatGPT because I'm like, I don't know what form to fill out. I don't know. And so far, so good. So hopefully it stays that way. So yeah. So when it comes to staying organized as a social media manager, this is huge. I use Notion for everything. I love Notion. I have a couple of tutorials. I use it for project management. I use it for content calendars for my clients. It makes it so easy because if there are any revisions that need to be done, it's easy to do it. I don't ever post anything unless the client has already approved the content. So before anything goes on their feed, they have seen it, they've watched it, they've read the caption, it's approved. I see it, I get a notification, and I post it. And it's been amazing. And the other thing too is it's nice because then we can see, okay, what kind of holidays are coming up? What kind of events are coming up? What do we need to do? It just keeps us on track, and it also lets us know, okay, what kind of content is coming up. It's really nice with planning. I just love having a calendar view because I feel like that makes the most sense, and I brainstorm that way. And then for my own personal business, I just use Notion, and I do a weekly planning schedule where I just make a list of everything I need to do, and then I organize it in the days of the week. I have my monthly goals, I have my quarterly goals, all that stuff, but really I really focus on weekly and then daily tasks, and just making sure that I have everything and I'm getting everything done that I need to get done. And then that way it's organized. So that way when I wake up, on Monday, I know exactly what I'm doing today, and I'm not spending time like, oh, what am I going to do? Oh, I have to get this done this week. And then I'm just overwhelmed and get nothing done. And I love Notion for that. And it's nice. I'm able to automate it with my clients. The things you can do with Notion makes things so much easier than like Google Docs or Excel or anything like that, or like Google Drive. Like, that's why I love using Notion, because everything's streamlined. It sends you emails, like you can automate things, you can visually make things. It's really nice. And I like it because you can make it as complicated or as simple as you want it. Again, if you're interested in any of these templates or tutorials, you can check them out in my description below. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, because I know that can be really daunting and tricky as like the business side, but honestly, you just got to go for it. And like I said, make sure you're signing on good clients, because that's going to make a world of difference. It's just a learning game, but don't hesitate to ask for help. Reach out to people, lawyers or accountants or ChatGPT, or even me if you have any questions, because I love to help and they love to help. We're all going through this together, and so if you have any other tips, please let us know down below, because we'd love to hear and we can help each other out. I do have a social media manager onboarding bundle link down below if you are interested in purchasing it. I also have 2 videos on this if you want to check that out. That's all about how to onboard, all that nitty gritty of how to streamline onboarding and getting clients into paying clients. I've got free resources down below as well. I will be working on getting more to help you guys. As long as you put your mind to it and you believe you can do it, you will. And thank you guys so much. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Bye.